Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. As you all know that we have started Yavakalapi Sutta, which is talking about various aspects related to the thought formation. And we understood there are 9 prepositions that Buddha explained per each categorized thought formation. So, I am this, I shall be, I shall not be, I shall consist of form, I shall be formless, I shall be percipient, I shall be non-percipient, I shall be neither percipient nor non-percipient. So, likewise, in this sutta, Buddha discuss for each section these 9 thought formations as an example. Now these are not the only different types of thought formations, there could be different other types, but we can see these are the very fundamental ways that how we start thinking, imagining that there is a self. So self-centered thinking is very much what Buddha is trying to explain here, and to explain us the ignorance included there. And so he is coming up with 5 possibilities in a way, primarily reasons. So imagining or conceiving, what we call as manyita or manyana, is the first one we already discussed. Now that is where we assume that there is a person here, an individual here, a self here, a person here, and even in the outside we assume that there is a person there in the outside, an individual there in the outside, an object is there in the outside. So based on that, so we used to think, imagine and then think. So this very imagination, this very assumption cause us to think wrongly, and so that is what we discussed in the first scenario. So how the manyana going to happen? Actually before that, Buddha, probably you can remember, I am not going to again and again go through that. So probably you can remember that how Buddha tell us whenever we are doing such kind of conceiving, we are bound to the Mara. And if we are able to be free ourselves from such kind of conceiving, then we are free from the Mara. As that Vepachitti, the Asurendra, the king of the Asuras, that he being bound just because of his thought, not because that he being bound by various chains and ropes and etc. Rather the way he thinks makes him bound. Whenever he thinks that Asuras are righteous and the Devas are unrighteous, I want to be free from these Devas and I want to go back to the Asura realm, then he being captured. His whatever the bondages become further tightened. On the other hand, if he is able to think Devas are righteous and Asuras are unrighteous, I like to stay with the Devas without going to the Asura realm, then his bondages being freed. So that whole bondage is thought dependent. How he is thinking decides whether he is bounded or released. So Buddha particularly mentioned, this Vepachitte's bondage is subtle. Even subtler is the Mara's bondage. So we all are under the grip of the Mara, and how we think either decides whether we are captured by the Mara or released by the Mara. So that's the meaning of this whole thing. So how we think decides whether we are free or are we being captured. So the first possibility is that we assume that there is a self here, there is I here, and there's an individual here. Based on that wrong assumption, we start thinking. So that is why it is called manyana, conceiving, imagination, and all that actually further makes us bound to the Mara. On the other hand, if we are able to recognize those manjana and then minimize them, ultimately, time to time at least, if we are able to keep the mind free from such manjana, then we can say, okay, at least during that time, the mind is free from the Mara. So we discussed that aspect in lengthy, and basically using the Mula Pariyaya Sutta, how imaginations happen, how manjana happens, and how different people start doing that conceiving. And then through Kalakarama Sutra, we understood at different places, particularly the 4 stages, how the manjana can happen. And then with respect to an Arahant, how he still uses the typical conventions without being consumed by them, without misunderstanding them. So he still uses the conventions. And then with respect to the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, so where Buddha mentioned the very same thing to Venerable Pukkusati, and they are basically if one is able to keep the mind entirely free from conceiving, there is no coming and going. There is no kind of birth, there is no any aging, in the sense that he is not representing himself as a person. His selfhood or his personality is completely abandoned. So his experience is no more a dualistic type of experience. I, you, subject, object type of experience is no more available with him. So we can't say therefore he is basically trapped in the Mara's realm. Rather he is free. So there is no any bhava tanha, there is no any kind of craving, and as a result of that, there is no any kind of grasping. So as a result of that, there is no birth, decay, aging, decay, illness, death. All such sort of suffering is completely absent in him. So this is very much further highlighted in this Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. We touched these aspects last week. Now we can get into the next one. So that is also called agitation. These terms are somewhat very close, and here the Pali term is injita, injana. Now aja is another synonym for given for craving. So therefore this injita or agitation is particularly based on the craving. You know that there is a very famous statement by the Buddha, tanha jayati soko, tanha jayati bhayam. So whenever there is some kind of craving available in the mind, it produces some kind of an unsatisfaction, it produces some kind of a distress and a fear, and it can even lead to worrying. So mind is not kind of resting, rather mind become restless. Mind is agitated because you are not in a satisfied state, you are not in a restful state, rather you are in an unsatisfied state, restless state. Your mind is in a kind of a frustration because there is some kind of a need always triggering in the mind. So you are not yet satisfied that need. So therefore there is a agitation in the mind. There is an unsatisfied need. So always therefore the mind is in some sort of a restless movement. So uno loko atitto tanha dasu. So Buddha mentioned in this Rattapala Sutta. So we all feel like something is missing, something is lacking, never feel fulfilled, always looking something else, always looking for some further thing to satisfy us. So therefore some kind of an ongoing frustration, ongoing search, ongoing asking for something is always pertinent in the mind, residing in the mind, and you can recognize such kind of a frustration is there in the mind. Probably the person has whatever in mundane terms, he may be having a house and maybe a children, wife, husband, whatever, all that, and maybe with a good job, and all that is available, but still mind is not happy, not feeling complete, not feeling fulfilled. Rather something is missing, something is lacking. He's asking something. Mind is searching for something. So likewise, this availability of the craving always produces some kind of an agitation in the mind. So the outcome is it produces thinking. So whenever there is such kind of an agitation, such kind of a frustration, such kind of a search, inner need available in the mind, it promotes thinking. So this agitation is derived from this tanha. Therefore, emotional appeal of the prepositions is there. So for the thinking, there's a kind of a emotional appeal. You are asked to think. You are tempted to think. So thinking becomes very much like an inherent nature of this unsatisfied mind. And now we can go to another area to further understand this concept. So Venerable Ananda, so this is in the Kanda Sangyutta, in Sangyutta Nikaya, Ananda Sutta. Friends, the Venerable Punnamantaniputta was very helpful to us when we were newly ordained. He exhorted us with the following exhortation. It is by clinging Ananda that the notion I am occurs, not without clinging. Upadayatiko Ananda Asmiti Hoti no Anupadaya. So this is a very, very interesting statement by Venerable Punnamantaniputta. So he is an Arahant and he is admonishing Venerable Ananda and the others who are newly ordained at that time. So Venerable Ananda reminds that admonition, that advice. So he is saying that this Punnamantaniputta was very, very helpful, and he is reminding me, Upadayatiko Ananda Asmiti Hoti no Anupadaya. It is by clinging Ananda that the notion I am occurs, not without clinging. So by clinging to what? So basically it is clinging to the form, clinging to the feeling, clinging to the perception, clinging to volitional formations, clinging to consciousness. So basically with respect to the aggregates, so whenever one cling to any kind of these aggregates, there's a possibility of the sense of I, generation of the sense of I, the I am. I am this, I am that, I am with the form, I like this form, this is my body, I like my body is sick, I am getting old. So because we are attached to the body, and with respect to body, this I am happens. So we are already grasping the body, we assume that we are in the body, so Sakkaya is there, so the I am is there. So similarly in the feelings. So there are different feelings arise, and we, rather than seeing them as they truly are, as they come and go, we think, okay, I am good, I am happy, or I am not well, so I am going through some pain. So all these different types of feelings we identify. So as a result of that, again the sense of I arise. Whenever we attach to the feelings, again the sense of I arise. So we can see, knowingly or unknowingly, so we are using these aggregates, but we are unable to stop this attachment. We are unable to stop the grasping process. Outcome is the sense of I. So we feel that I am living. I am so and so. I know the subject. I am the boss. I am the executive. Or I am poor. I am suffering. So all this I am, all the sense of I, all the sense of self is there because we are attached to something most of the time. So in a way, Satipatthana helps us to recognize this attaching process, and we are very much like given the support of the wisdom to develop wisdom. And when fair amount of wisdom is available, there we can see how we get attached, because the wisdom helps us to kind of analyze this whole clinging process. So as we develop the wisdom, slowly we recognize this attachment process, how this clinging process happens, grasping process happens. And as we kind of see the futile nature there, the empty nature there, the foolish nature there, So mind somewhat reluctant to continue this grasping. So at least time to time we stop the grasping. So you experience some kind of a release, you experience some kind of lightness in the mind. So the burden being abandoned, at least temporarily it is being relinquished. So you feel this non-grasping state of mind. So that is where the interesting part. So the Satipatthana practice, if you are doing for a considerable period of time, at least time to time you feel some kind of relaxation, some kind of calmness, a lighter experience of the mind, and mind fairly stops thinking, imagination. So you can see this outcome, that the thinking process has fairly subsided because the understanding has arisen. You understood that the particular aggregate is not worthy of attaching. Say for example, if you are practicing Kaya Anupassana, we are deeply understanding the nature of the form aggregate, and further we understand it. There's another underneath wisdom growing, telling us it's not worthy of grasping. For what purpose are we grasping? It's a burden. It's a hindrance. So when mind recognizes it, mind starts dropping it, releasing it, and you may experience some kind of a release, a very lighter state of mind, unattached state of mind. You feel like the burden being relinquished. So all these kind of things are there. So because the point here is, whenever there is grasping, the sense of I arises. So then we have to maintain that sense of I. We have to compete with the others. We have to highlight that sense of I. So now you are a person, now you are an individual, you have to maintain that personality. And it never be a perfect personality. You can't have a perfect personality and there is something missing every time. So the personality is not something perfect. We are trying to be a perfect. We are searching a perfect model, role model, and we are trying to become that. We are trying to become that person. Because we are not satisfied with who we are. So there is a personality, so that personality is something lacking. So we prepare that personality based on an attachment to this whatever the aggregates. So this important statement that Punnamantani Putta is telling here, Upadayatiko Ananda Asmiti Hoti no Anupadaya. With respect to clinging Ananda, that the I am occurs. So he is actually giving even an example. That is a kind of a young woman, a young man going in front of the mirror, or there are some kind of ball filled with water. So there he see his face. So it may be very beautiful because this is a young person, and so immediately he recognizes, okay, I am there. So he start that feeling with respect to the clinging, grasping happens to that image, to that reflection. And then we can understand that kind of a relationship there. So tanha produce upadana and upadana produce asmi, the sense of I. Now we can go to another area to further understanding the aspect of this clinging. There's an interesting sutta called Attiraga Sutta, available in the Samyutta Nikaya. If there is lust, and there Buddha talks about the 4 nutriments, and those nutriments are helpful to maintain all the beings, and all the beings are dependent on the nutriments. Sabbe satta ahara thitika. And the 4 nutriments are the nutriment of edible food, and then contact, and then mental volition, and then the consciousness. So these are the Okay, these are the 4 nutriments that we all have heard. An interesting thing is, whenever the mind is attached to any of these nutriment, for example, if because there is lust for the nutriment edible food, if there is delight, if there is craving, consciousness become established there and comes to growth. Now don't think that this is only when you are having the meal, because even though you are not having edible food, you may go into the contact. The nutriment contact is present. So you are experiencing some kind of contact, and you may even eager to have further contact. You are searching another type of contact. So the contact is there. Or you are volitionally want to do something. So we are basically doers. We want to do something. Either with the body, either with the words, either with the mind, we want to do something. Okay, I want to build a house. I want to buy a car. I want to kill an animal. I want to give a dana. So all are in a way the good and bad activities we are doing by the body. Or we want to tell something. I want to write a poem. I want to tell a story. I want to preach some dhamma. I want to tell some gossip. I better tell some story. So likewise we want to tell something, or we want to write something, or else we want to think. I want to think. I can't simply remain quiet. I want to think. So always the kind of inner trait is there to do something. We can't stop doing. We can't just be. So we are very much like triggered to do. So this is a kind of a feeding of the person. This is the feeding of the personality, the sense of I, in a way. So in order to highlight the sense of I want to do something. I want to show the colors. I want to show the kind of the skill. So this is how we are kind of doing, and then affirming the presence of myself, the doing part. On the other hand, the consciousness, if you are coming to the very subtle consciousness level, so always our mind is tangled with the name and form, never being able to keep it completely free, completely pure, completely untangled. Rather, we want to keep the mind fully occupied. We are tempted to occupy the mind. We want to tangle with something. That's why we are thinking too much. Say we are taking something from the past and again thinking. We are again and again worrying. Rumination. We are thinking. We are tempted to think. We want to occupy the mind. So the consciousness is always tangled with the name and form. So there's an interrelationship. So never being able to keep the consciousness unestablished, we again and again establish the consciousness with the name and form. That's why again, if you are planning about the future, so we can't simply keep the mind in the present, so we want to think about the future, some kind of planning. So again and again, various imaginations and various different types of thought formations, and again different the visualizations. Now all these things are appearing in the mind because we want to occupy the mind. So that is how the consciousness aggregate. In a way, we consume always that there's a search, a need in the mind to occupy itself, something to latch upon, something to establish upon. So this inner tendency is always there. So either if you are eating something edible, so that's a different story. There also you have some kind of an attachment. That's the kabalinkara ahara, the edible food. Else we are trying to satisfy the senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. So that is where the contact. else we want to do something, that is the volition, the mental volition, or else we want to keep the mind somewhat every time occupied, tangled with something, latched with something, established on something. That is the consciousness. Now these are the four nutriments that the Buddha is explaining. And interesting part here is when the consciousness is such established and then kind of a growth happens and that consciousness become established. So that's a established consciousness. What we call as the patittita vijnana, established consciousness. And when it is coming such grow at somewhere, the name and form obviously is there. So that relationship is further fed, further nourished, further kind of strengthened. As a result of that, further volitional formations can grow, and the arising, that means the existence, renewed existence, rebirth can happen. Future, where there is the production of future renewed existence, that means birth, aging, death, all the suffering is possible. So again and again we feed these cycles, we give these nutriments, so the continuation happens. Now Buddha gave a very interesting simile here about the simile of a house with peaked roof. So there is 4 windows on each side, northern, southern, eastern sides. And basically Buddha is now asking a question. So whenever sun rises, where are the sun rays going to establish? Early in the morning, say early in the morning when the sun rises. Now the sunbeam will come from the eastern window. And where is it established? Now the monks say it is in the western wall. And then Buddha say, okay, if the western wall is not there, okay, then it will establish on the earth. So if the earth is not there, okay, it will be established on water. So if there is no water, where is it going to establish? It would not become established anywhere when the birth. Now this is the interesting part. So it becomes unestablished. So the sunbeam, in order to establish, either it has the wall, it has to have the earth or water. If there is nothing available, it becomes unestablished. So it is very much like pure. So senses are there, but we haven't added any of our own stuff, our likes and dislikes. So there Buddha mentioned, when the unestablished consciousness is there, so then that birth, decay, despair, anguish, all that suffering is no more there. So this is a kind of a release mind, a pure state of mind. So we haven't added our own stuff, we haven't basically colored it. So we are merely experiencing, but we haven't even created the sense of I. There is no experiencer, there is no seer, there is no listener, and there is no any person who is sensing, there is no any thinker. But there is kind of a cognition going on, there is some kind of a sensing going on, there is seeing going on, hearing going on, but there is no seer, there is no listener. As explained in the Bahya Sutta, ditte ditta mattam bhavissati. So only the seeing happens without subject-object duality. Merely the hearing happens without a listener and any kind of a song or any such kind of an object preparation. Mere smelling happens without a person who is experiencing it, and there is no any particular thing being experienced. So likewise, so this is a very very interesting area where how you have stopped that mental agitation. One's mind is in a complete equilibrium, in a kind of an equipoise, so that tanha related agitation is no more in the mind. So at that level the mind is completely still. One is experiencing the stillness. There is no agitation because tanha is absent. So there is no craving for any kind of a food, not to the edible food, not to the contact, not to the volitional activities, and not to the consciousness. So mind is in a complete rest. And interesting verse available in the Dvaitanupassana Sutta, Tanha dutiyo puriso digamadhana sansara ita bhavanyata bhavang sansarang nati vattati etamadinavan nyatva tanha dukkassa sambhavang vitatanho anadano sato bhikkhu paribbaje. So there are Buddha mentioned, so we are all this sansara, we are keeping tanha, the craving, as our partner, and wandering in this long journey we have tanha as our partner, and as a result of that we are unable to transcend the sansara, and again we are jumping from this to that. Etamadinava nyatva tanha dukkassa sambhava. So if one understands this as a danger, craving is the origin of suffering, so now he is trying to be free from suffering, and he is wandering mindfully, free of craving, without grasping. Now this is a kind of a determination that Buddha is very much like asking us to maintain. So try to understand the danger of tanha. The tanha makes the mind agitated. Every time when there is some sort of need, kind of a desire, so mind become unsatisfied. You don't feel satisfied. You feel kind of frustrated. You feel agitated. You feel something lacking. But the moment that desire is abandoned, again mind feel relaxed, calm, quiet, and you feel fulfilled. You feel satisfied. Not that desire being fulfilled, rather desire is abandoned. Probably you can remember with respect to the second noble truth that Buddha mentioned, dukkha samudayang ariya saccang pahatabbang. The cause of suffering has to be abandoned. So the cause of suffering is the tanha, the craving, and it has to be abandoned. So rather than fulfilling the tanha, so you are trying to abandon tanha, abandon craving. So we are basically discussing that aspect. So when there is no craving in the mind, so mind has to be stopped in a way. Mind has to come to the stillness. Mind is resting. Mind is calm. No inner agitation. Mind is relaxed. No thinking. No overthinking. No prapancha. So mind is calm, very quiet. So in one sense we can see, if we are thinking too much, somewhere some kind of an attachment. If we are overthinking, some kind of an attachment is there. Some kind of grasping is there. Some kind of inner desire is there. Either with respect to us, with respect to someone else. So we are desiring something. We are expecting something. So that is why mind is thinking. Now I will stop here with the last one. Here another example coming from the Tissamettaya Sutta in the Parayana Vagga. So there the term again appear. Who here is content in the world? So this is the question by Tissamettaya to the Buddha. Who is free from agitation? Who there is no agitation? And who is the one knowing both ends and by reflecting does not get stuck in the middle? Whom do you call a great man? Who here has transcended the seamstress? So this is a very popular answer that Buddha has given. So ubhanta abhiññāya majjhe mantana lippati tambrumi mahapurisoti soda sibbani maccagati. So this verse is the theme for the whole Majjhe Sutta appearing in the Anguttara Nikaya. And I think we discuss Majjhe Sutta. If not, we can discuss in the future. And Majjhe Sutta is a very, very interesting sutta. And so there Buddha mentioned, if one is able to know the both ends, both extremes, and he is not stuck in the middle, then I call him a great man. He is the one who has transcended the seamstress, that is the craving. Now, here the interesting thing, no santi injita. No santi injita. So there is no injana, there is no agitation. Kamesu brahmacharyava vitatanho sada sato sankhaya nibbuto bhikkhu tassa no santi injita. One leading the spiritual life among sensual pleasures. So now he is in this sensual world. Say someone is a monk, someone is a nun, someone is a meditator who is practicing vipassana. He still lives in this sensual world. And but interesting thing is, he is free from tanho. He is free from craving. Sada sato, always mindful. Sankhaya nibbuto bhikkhu, tassa no santinchita. A bhikkhu who is quenched, having comprehended, for him there is no agitation. So he understood the thing. He understood the things as they truly are. As a result of that, no point of grasping, because everything is not worthy of grasping. So therefore the mind has relinquished everything. So his mind has come to the stillness. So we can see when the mind want to think, so there we can understand, okay, some sort of a tanha is there. Some sort of craving is there. If the mind is not thinking, in a way, at least temporarily, our mind is not craving. Mind is free from desires. Mind is somewhat relaxed, somewhat calm, and now in a restful state. Okay, with that note, I like to conclude today's Sutta teaching session. Now I like to open the session for questions.
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, Nissarana, feel free to unmute.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes.
Bhante, a question. I'm not sure. Maybe the thing. This is something I heard when I was looking at a bhavana, like the meditation. So, Bhante, when you're doing sitting down meditation, so we focus. Let's say focusing on the breath, in breath, out breath, right? You start like that, or you go to like Dhatu Manasika, elemental meditation. Now, as we are focusing, say, let's say I'm focusing on, this is an example, say focusing on the breath, right? But now I get a pain in my neck, right?
Pain
so
in the neck.
My main, sorry?
Pain in the neck, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just trying to give you an example so I can explain this. I'm trying to explain this. So now my focus is the breath. But now when I try to focus on the breath, but my pain in the neck is the one that becomes the more, I guess, the focus, it just changed because I have pain in the neck, right? Pretty much. So now, if I, rather than trying to battle with the breath, if I focus on the, like, change my attention to that, like that, because you are in that, the pain in the neck is the more, I guess, the strong feeling, right? I look at it without interacting with it, then it changes, right? I just want to understand, is that sort of the right approach to look? Because sometimes if you start battling with, like, for example, in walking meditation, you battle with the feet, sometimes you get some ache or something. So you focus on that and then, not focus, I'm not sure the right word. It's like your attention goes to that, right? So you don't interact with it, but you are still an observer, but your attention is on that spot, right? And then it changes, right? Is that the right thing to do, Bhante, or you try to really still come back to the main thing?
Yeah, it actually,
like what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it depends on where you are in a way. Because at the beginning, you are unable to look at the pain in a balanced manner. So mind starts complaining, mind starts worrying about the pain, and you are unable to maintain a kind of a balanced approach there. So in such case, you better return to the breath, because you are still growing some amount of mindfulness, growing some kind of proper approach. So still you are learning. But later you come to a level, you have developed certain amount of Kayanupassana, and as a result of that, you know the technique, how to keep the breathing as it is without interfering with it, how you are able to look at it properly, and you know the technique. So now you can apply the same technique to the pain as well. The pain in the neck is there, but now you can recognize it. You are not trying to avoid it, or you are not trying to get rid of it. Rather, you are trying to learn from it. You are trying to investigate it. So it becomes possible. So if you are confident in doing that without making the mind agitated, without having any kind of frustration, or without saying, okay, my pain is my neck is painful, or I am suffering. So that kind of I-centered thinking has to be absent. Rather, you are taking the correct approach. Okay, there is a pain. Okay, there is a pain. So if you are able to look at it objectively, then you are welcome to do that.
Okay. So Bhante, when you do that, because that's for me, like, I heard this, and also naturally it happens to me with the meditation I do, right? So only thing I say when I go with that, my only, I guess this is after the meditation I had worry was, if I focus on, like, so let's say my focus in the neck, now it focus, maybe something will differ after a while to a sound or something, would that create some agitation as we go, or is that something, a measure that you need to do yourself? Like, because your focus quickly changes, because all this is chitta, it's I don't know, microsecond or 1 second, like, the things change, right? As soon as you look at it, you get something else, right? It's never consistent, right? Is that something you need to measure yourself when you're doing it, Bhante?
No, it's
like saying, because now you,
it's an understanding, it's an insight. So as you look at the pain, you understand it's changing, because it's changing phenomena. You are not, in a way, you are understanding the non-self nature, where so you are unable to control it. It has appeared, and now it is changing. And when the proper conditions are absent, it will disappear. So it is completely beyond your control. So likewise, you can learn a lot from observing the pain, and it is not something we need to avoid. Rather, only thing is that we have to have that balance in the mind. So otherwise we get agitated, otherwise we start complaining.
Yeah. Okay. All right, understood, Bhante. So last one I wanted to discuss with you, Bhante, is like during meditation, I got an insight probably. One was like, I think, which sort of, I'm not sure it is exactly aligns with the Buddha's teachings in 100%. So my insight was, Bhante, like, it's like I choose, like, it's a choosing of a lifestyle, sort of, right? So for me, like, I realized afterwards, like, why I had come to this path, like, in the last few years, like, doing meditation and all that. It's not because I was trying to follow Buddhism or anything, but it's mostly the appeal of the lifestyle, like what Buddha is saying, because I feel more, at peace with myself, like, rather than the battling of, trying to achieve things, and I saw that stressful way of living. So for me, I got the insight is like, this is, for me, I find more peace with this lifestyle.
Correct.
So more than a religion, it's a lifestyle choice, right? It's like, I find peace with this quiet way of living, doing, obviously not as a Bhante, but because we are not, like, but I guess less is more. Correct. Like, sort of lifestyle, right? So that's what I felt. And the other thing I felt was, in that way, I don't feel the battle like, so for example, like say, there's sometimes in the thoughts come saying like, now, or you're not now going after from your job, you're not trying to find promotions, or you're not trying to find more wealth, or you're trying not to establish, so now you're not doing this part, now you haven't achieved the Margapala. All these thoughts come, so you're not doing anything, right? But when you find this way, that's saying this is a lifestyle choice that gives me peace, I don't crave even in the Dhamma path to say, oh, I need to now do 4 hours of meditation, or I do as much as I can, right? So both ways, it gets balanced. I'm not sure if that's the right way to think of the Dhamma path as well. Like, I do what I can, but in both ways, in Sammuti. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Bhante? Or like,
yes.
It's clear?
Yes. So that's, I feel that's the correct approach. At the beginning, that you feel frustrated because of the ongoing battle, the competition in the societies, and you understand, okay, this is not the right path, this is quite stressful. So what is the release? What is the path? So what is the way of proper approach? So then you may assume that you come across the Dhamma, you start practicing, and then you feel relaxed, you feel calm, you feel quiet, etc. And there are also, as you mentioned, someone may start say too much expecting the results, so that also can give you some kind of unsatisfaction. So that is where we have to again be a little careful. So as you said very correctly, so very say satisfied approach in the present day, in the daily practice level, but still having kind of a goal, but you are not desire driven in a way as you did in the past. Rather you know, okay, this is what to do, but I am doing it now. So while you are doing, you are in a very happy, very relaxed, very calm attitude. So now the interesting thing is, it's going against the grain. Now if you are in a frustrated mood, if you want the results, I want Maggapala, I want Jhana, and then you are meditating, so you are not getting it, because it is too much desire there, too much tanha, craving there in the mind. So the craving has to be abandoned. So that's the Buddha's teaching, as we already discussed. And on the other hand, if we are understanding, okay, nothing to grasp, nothing to hold, I better give up, I better satisfied in the present moment, completely let go of the past and the future, okay, let me in the present moment, okay, then you are there. Then you feel contented, then you feel fulfilled, you feel relaxed, you feel calm, you feel quiet, etc. So that is the path. But that doesn't mean that we have given up the goal. So we have something yet to achieve that we know, but we are doing it. But when we are doing it, our right attitude really helps. Maintaining the correct attitude during the session, during the meditation session, maintaining the correct attitude is very, very important.
Okay, man. So I guess then so that sort of aligns with what you said. So yeah, for me, after I find it, I check my partner, and it became easier. Like it became more, I don't know, it gives us another level of peace, right? So you're not battling anything, not the Dhamma path or not the thing. It's just a way of living. It's a lifestyle, it gives you peace and content. So yeah, so that was a nice, I guess, an insight to get. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you for explaining. Thank you. Thero Sannai.
Yeah, Thero Sannai.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite Mara for the next question.
Thank you, Jenny. Bhante, I just wanted to get more clarification on a point you made about the non-duality.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say non-duality, is it like the difference between your consciousness and the other aggregates, and is it something similar to what extinguishment, nibbana would be like? Or I'm a bit confused, and just trying to understand that non-duality, although I can understand what it means that you're going with the flow and you're not identifying yourself as something separate, but separate to what?
Mm-hmm.
And is that something, is there a Pali word for that? Or is it in the text about this non-duality?
Yeah. Now, actually, you can refer one interesting sutta called Kacchanagotta Sutta. So, in the Kacchanagotta Sutta, Buddha mentioned the typical worldly way of thinking. Dvayanisito ko kaccanayan loko ye buhiyena atitancheva natitancha. Monks, Venerable Kacchana, this whole world, the worldly beings are very much trapped in this duality. Dvayanisito. So they are attached to this duality. Duality, the dualistic way of thinking. Atitancheva natitancha. So Buddha giving there kind of an example. Existing and non-existing. Existence and non-existence. Atitancha, natitancha. And other examples are, say, good, bad, wholesome, unwholesome, right, wrong. Then I, you, I here and the world outside, far, near. So likewise, our whole thinking pattern is dualistic. Yes and no. So all these are very dualistic. 1, 0, yes, no, good, bad, wholesome, unwholesome, existing, non-existing. So all this is the way that the typical mind is thinking. How the mind is taking the extremes, taking the sides. And so whenever we are in the right understanding, so the mind has to give up this kind of dualistic thinking. I, you, I here, you there. So the object-object duality. So that even it has to be abandoned. So mind has to maintain kind of an experiential state, but without making a self. So that's what we discuss in the Kalakarama Sutta also. How whenever we are going through some sense experience, are we able to avoid any kind of I-making, mind-making, any kind of comparison. So probably we'll take Kalakarama Sutta in the future. So if you really want, so this is the point. So when the mind is resting at that level, we are not adding anything to the experience. You know, in a way, in a way, we are experiencing some kind of an energy flow. We are experiencing some sort of pure experience. But in order to explain that, we are giving names, we are adding labels, and we are personifying it, we are objectifying it, and all those are kind of conventional reality. All those are conventions. All those are our adding, naming, labeling. So all sorts of things are there which are additions actually to the experience. So now...
And is craving...
Sorry? Is
craving part of that?
Yeah, exactly. Craving
that
is
duality?
Exactly. Craving is an additional thing that we are adding based on our own assumptions, based on our own likes and dislikes, our inner traits. We add the craving part also. Now, say for example, say you see your son, you see your daughter, whatever, and immediately there is some kind of an attachment, some kind of a desire arising in you because he is your son. So you are here, son is there. So that dualistic thinking is promoted. Immediately it comes up. So the moment that we are attached to something, so I am here, that thing is outside. The dualistic thinking is there. But the moment that we stop doing that, without adding any desire to it, so the mind experiencing it without any kind of an agitation, without any kind of attachment, without any kind of repulsion, so you are restfully experiencing it. So senses are still operating without establishing anywhere.
There must be so much joy for you to experience that non-duality, because You know, because like you said, like a computer, we are the 1 or 0.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're always jumping from comparison to comparison of
Correct.
what you want, what I don't want.
Exactly.
What the person is and wish they were that. Or
Yeah.
So to go beyond that on a long term, maybe it happens sometimes, but on a long term thing, you must be in a field of a lot of joy.
We can say so. I mean, now basically Buddha says it is very much equanimous as we are growing there. So you come to a kind of an equilibrium of the mind, kind of a well-being of the mind, equipoise of the mind. So mind is in a very good balance. It doesn't want to get agitated, it doesn't want to get attracted to something, neither it wants to get repulsed from something. So in say for example, for example in the Baddegaratta Sutta, Paccupannanca yo dhamman tatatatta vipassati asankinnang. There's a very beautiful statement there. Let me find it. In there Buddha mentioned asanghirang asangkuppang tang vidva manubruhe. So you recognize the balance, asanghirang. That means you are not being attracted to the outside object, and in a way we are not taking it as an object either. Assume that it is mere elements, is mere aggregate. So you are having the understanding, the insight. So as a result of that, you are not taking it in a compact form. So as a result of that, you are not being attracted to it. Asangkuppang, you are not being repulsed from it either. So that is where the balance of the mind. So typically, either we are attracted or we are repulsed. So the balanced mind is kind of an equanimous. We are not being attracted, not being repulsed. So you are maintaining that beautiful balance.
Thank you so much. That makes sense. And it's nothing to do with Nibbana. It's just how we have to initially keep developing our mind. And then the final extinguishment is something quite different. Whereas in some other religions, they talk about this non-duality and absorbing into the big field of consciousness or something. So that's why I get confused. Yeah.
So here actually the Buddha doesn't say that this is a kind of an eternal consciousness that we are being part of it, and so such kind of eternality is not something that Buddha admonish, and it is not that again Buddha say okay it is the eternal self and now we are being connected with that eternal self. So that kind of views are not in Buddha's teaching.
Yeah. It's more about the extinguishment of the craving and the wanting and the attachment.
Yeah, I think that is a very proper way of putting it. That's why Buddha defined Nibbana as ragakkayo, dosakkayo, mohakkayo, Nibbana. So if you are able to completely extinguish the lust, hatred, delusion, so that is Nibbana.
Thank you, Bhante. That's very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, Mara. And let's invite Andrade for the next question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thero and Bhante, can you hear me?
Yes.
Bhante, just regarding my meditation, I'm just following the elements meditation. Currently, I'm experiencing this situation where I just see the feeling in my the whole body. But it's just I can't focus. I'm trying to not follow where the feeling is. So it's just not one place. It's just wherever it's prominent, I just feel it. And the concentration goes there. And when the other feeling is more prominent, then the concentration just moves to that. So like that, it just keeps on changing. Just want to know if I should focus on one point, and just after going through a certain cycle, just come back to the where you already started, or is that okay to just go with the most prominent feeling?
Yeah, you can go ahead, no problem. Because now mind mind is very much like gathered the momentum and he is in a mood to investigate, and it's doing its own.
Yeah.
So it is doing its own. That's much better, that's appropriate. So in a way, this is what Buddha in a way promoted. So basically, at first we have to train the mind to do this investigation. So when the mindfulness is established and certain amount of concentration is available, we are kind of training the mind. Okay, you observe this, you observe when that disappeared. Okay, now you go and observe that. Again, you investigate that, and when it disappeared, again you go to another one. So we are developing that technique. And once the mind has learned that technique, it is doing by itself. No problem. Go ahead with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bhante. Theravada.
Yeah, Theravada. Okay, then we have spent a fair amount of time. Jennifer, I hope there are no more questions, right?
There's actually one more written question.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's also a meditation-related question, so I saved it for the end. It says, hi, if possible, that was the message for me. It says, Dear Bhante, during my sitting meditation, I felt very subtle feelings in my lips and not felt beatings properly. In between, mind also went out and felt all are creating future plans. But at the same time, I felt very calm state in my deep mind too. Again and again, I came back to subtle feelings. Please advise Thero on Sunday.
Yeah, I think these are quite common. So we are trying to establish mindfulness on breathing, but time to time the thoughts come, time to time feelings come, and you are able to again return to the meditation object. So for the time being, I feel that is better, because it appears like still you need to develop further amount of concentration through the breathing. So it's a way kind of we are preparing the mind. We are preparing certain kind of skills in the mind. So mindfulness is such skill. The concentration is another skill where you are learning how to focus your mind to a particular phenomena in a considerable period of time. So once that skill being developed, as we discussed with the previous yogi, you are free to observe other phenomena as well. You don't need to stick to breath. You don't need to stick to breath. You can observe other phenomena. But don't think that breathing is a bad method. Rather, it is, but itself is a proper method. So these are different kammatthana in a way. So different meditation objects are there. So there are certain group of yogis who are continuously going through the breathing, and then they are able to find a fair good results through the breathing practice, as explained in the Anapanasati Sutta. On the other hand, certain others, they prepare the skills using Anapanasati, and then other phenomena also appear in the body, and they are free to observe them as well, and then they may be able to switch to Vedananupassana or even elements meditation. So the Anapanasati being used to prepare the skills. So according to this report, I feel you better further stay with the breathing, and but your potential is there that you have experienced various other phenomena, and that's all right. But for the time being, try to stick to breathing and further develop the mindfulness and concentration.
Thank you, Bhante. I believe that should be all of the questions for tonight.
Okay, right, fine. So then,
It looks like this. I'm so sorry. I apologize, Bhante. It looks like this person had a follow-up comment to what you have shared, Bhante. It says, "I cannot feel properly breathing."
Yeah, it's possible. Then just be there, because now if you please refer to Anapanasati Sutta. So there Buddha explained 4 stages. So you are first establish mindfulness on breathing, then probably you understand the subtle aspects of breathing, then you see the complete cycle of breathing, and then you reach to a level where the breathing calms down. Pasambhayam kaya sankarang asasisamiti sikkati. That means the breathing almost like disappeared. You can't distinguish whether it is in-breath or out-breath. It's just a mere subtle sensation is there, and even it can disappear. Just promote that. Just facilitate that. So don't jump to any other thing. Just allow the mind to settle there. And you experience that samadhi for a while. So we need to little train there. So therefore don't switch to something else. Just try to train the mind there.
Okay. But it looks like we have one more raised hand.
Yeah.
Do we have time?
Okay, yeah.
Hello, Manjari. Feel free to unmute.
Sarai Bhante, this is my question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that the mind is agitated. There is some attachment or tanha somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if one can let go of that attachment, agitation and thinking will disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bhante, how do you do that? Is it by thinking, oh, that is the thought, and thought is anicca,
Mm-hmm.
or is it by thinking, that the object of my thought, say my granddaughter, is made up of the 4 elements, so it's useless thinking of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can please let us know how we can let go of that thought, Bhante.
Yeah.
Much merit to you, Bhante.
Yeah, different techniques are there. So I mean, once you are develop certain amount of mindfulness, so that very mindfulness, that mindful awareness itself might be enough to stop thinking. But for the time being, if you feel okay, even though I am aware of thinking, my mind does not stop thinking. So different techniques are possible. So one thing is that assume that the mind is now thinking too much about the granddaughter. Fine. Okay, as you said, you can apply some kind of an insight to it, but these are all still superficial. You haven't yet thoroughly understood these things, but you have heard about them, that these things are impermanent, these are merely elements, and you can apply these and try whether you are able to release the mind. That is one possibility. The other thing is probably you can understand, okay, so why am I occupying my mind unnecessarily thinking? So it's a burden. It is going against my practice. So likewise, you can understand the danger of overthinking, and as a result of that, probably reduce thinking. Or else, if you feel how this thinking has happened, so if you are able to kind of do a little bit of investigation. So when I meets the object, and then there is a consciousness, eye consciousness, and then again and again it happens, and then a kind of feeling arises, and you start attached to that feeling. So likewise, in a conditional way, how this process has happened. So in a way, what we are trying to do here, rather than being trapped in that desire, that sort of trait, we step out of it and look back it. We are kind of doing kind of an investigation, how really it has happened. That helps you to kind of untangle the mind. So typically what happens is we go and tangle with that object. We start thinking, we start further exploring, we start imagining, and we add our own likes and dislikes. So we create a story. But now what we are trying to do is step out of it and see how it has happened, how we have added our own stuff. Then a kind of an untangling process happens, and then you may be able to stop thinking. So different techniques are there. You can try different techniques and see which one works for you at the moment.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay. Okay, then we'll wind up for today, and we'll share the merits. And today we have spent fair amount of time practicing Dhamma, learning Dhamma, and then discussing, and all the merits we accumulate, we share with all the celestial beings, all past relatives, and whoever in need of merits. And we wish these merits help us also to attain path fruition, Nibbana. Ettavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya akasatta ca bummatta deva naga mahiddika පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ශාසනං චිරං රක්ඛන්තු දේශනං චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මම් පරං ඉදං වෝ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං වෝ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉදම්මේ පුඤ්ඤ කම්මං ආසවක්ඛයා වහං හෝතු සබ්බ දුක්ඛා පමුඤ්චතු